The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison, Nicole Hutchison, and Jess Navarez.
What's up? What's poppin', Cowboys Nation? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Nicole Hutchison coming to you live here in Oxnard, California. We've got Christy Scales coming to you live as well in Oxnard. And we've got in the stew Aisha Morrison, and we've got Bonnie Jill Laughlin. Ladies, how are you doing over there in the studio?
We're good. It's not hot in here, so we're good, right, Aisha?
And excited we have actual football to talk about. No more speculating. Starting to get some answers on things. This is when it starts getting real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, when you talk about one of those answers, well, not technically answers, but questions now surrounding that left tackle position. Chuma Edoga, the biggest news of the day, he will be missing a significant amount of time due to a toe injury. He actually was seen walking in a boot after the game on Sunday, and today Mike McCarthy, head coach Mike McCarthy, saying that Tyler Guyton will be the starting left tackle so far. So I'll start with you, Christy. I know today was just kind of a walkthrough, but what did you see out of Tyler Guyton, and what impressed you the most about him in the Rams game before we get to breaking that game down in the second segment?
Just the physicality of it and the fact that he was able to do as much as he did just because he had missed practice time earlier in the week with an illness. So what we saw was impressive. He did have to enter the game much earlier than anticipated. So Chuma Edoga did get the start. And the one thing as a sideline reporter that you absolutely do not want to do at any time, but especially in the preseason, is to do an injury report. And they come over and it's after the first offensive series, and Chuma is on the far end of the bench. Left tackle sits at the far left end of the bench, and he's got his shoe off, and Dr. Dan Cooper is poking on it, that big toe and that instep of his left foot, and it's like, oh, man, here we go. And so Tyler Guyton wasn't going to come in until maybe like the third or fourth series or by the second quarter, and he had to come in that second series and then sat out most of the second quarter and didn't come back till the second half. But what we did saw, I think, was very impressive. Aisha, what did you see watching the game and on film?
So immediately you notice his size and the length, and his length allows him to make mistakes as a rookie does, but also too it allows him to recover, and his feet and the footwork and how it mirrors is very special. He also too he forces guys to go run outside because they don't know how to attack him inside. He's going to be a matchup problem. But really what stood out to the most to me, Christy, was Tyler Guyton. When he was drafted, he was looked at as a guy that clearly could pass protect, obviously, right? But the run blocking was something that people had some questions about. Getting to the second level, sustaining blocks. And it really feels like he's improved on that since college, and just having the awareness and the awareness when he's out in space and he's trying to find a body, that's something that he's going to continue to work. But you do see improvement on the contact balance from him when he's getting out to the second level and trying to make a pathway for these guys. So, and just the hands being so active in pass pro, it's impressive to see, and I'm excited to see more of him moving forward.
Bonnie Jill.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I was upset about when the injury going down is that we don't have a lot of depth at the tackle position. So that was one thing that I was really concerned with. But, to kind of piggyback off Aisha, it's like literally the pass protection is what I saw in that the two-play sequence on the first drive. I really saw how he stonewalled against a pass rusher, which I really love seeing that. And, I know they want him to be the man to go up against Myles Garrett again in Cleveland. And so that's something that I think with the more reps that he's getting and continuing to develop and to see what he's doing so quickly, I'm pretty impressed by him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that also what impressed me is that, during his time in Oklahoma, he kind of relied on his power a lot. I think now he's kind of leaning towards that technique, relying on his technique. Like Aisha kind of mentioned, his hands have gotten so much better as well. So I'm looking forward to how he continues to grow. We're obviously going to see him get a little bit more action here against the Raiders on Sunday, not here, but against the Raiders on Saturday. But talking about just that depth, kind of more so what Bonnie Jill was mentioning, Christy, I'll start again with you, is just how much of a impact is that to that left tackle?
Sure,
depth?
it's a true domino effect, and not just at tackle but guard as well. Because Awesome Richards, who we talked about, heck, even the first podcast that we did from here at camp, we were talking about Awesome Richards, who had been working at left guard and left tackle. Now he's going to have to take more work at left tackle in the games, because Guyton, you're going to give him some work, but not all of it. And so if Awesome's playing more left tackle, then that affects guard. And so, Dakota Shepley, who is the third string center, was getting some work at guard today. Cooper Beebe, who's the backup center, but also has been getting work at guard, more work at guard today. Mike McCarthy did mention more work for Cooper Beebe. He might be in the game a little bit earlier this weekend than we had last weekend. So it's a domino effect. And what was happening was, when you had like the guys who would normally be third team, like the Earl Bostics of the world, when they're having to come in and play early in the second quarter, and that's affecting the pass protection. And so that's when you saw some Trey Lance maybe using his feet a little bit more. I'm not calling out Earl Bostic by any means, but just saying that there's a real domino effect. The other thing is Matt Wilecko has been working at right tackle almost exclusively here the first few weeks of camp. And so I wonder if they'll have him work more as a swing, and if we'll see him get some practice time tomorrow in the joint practice with the Rams, or even in a game, get some work at left tackle as well.
Aisha?
Well, Christy ain't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. We ain't gotten to the game yet.
Go
but
ahead, shoot it straight.
Listen, it was tough sledding.
It was rough
for Earl Bostic and Matt Wilecko. So quite frankly, I'm not at all interested in trying to make him do anything swing as far as Matt Wilecko. And even at that, it's like you don't have a set backup right tackle right now. And that's where it kind of ties into what you said, Christy. You mentioned Austin. I'm so glad you brought up Awesome Richards, because we were seething on this panel a couple weeks ago, talking about the fact we don't know what this guy is yet. Like, we hadn't seen him enough, and I think he's had a pretty strong camp. And the film that he put together on Sunday, especially at left guard, is nothing to snuff at. So, to your point, Christy, it's taken away from the left guard depth, but it's also taken away from the fact that it seemed like maybe he was starting to find a home there. It seems like, he's always had a little bit of issues with being powerful in the beginning of a rep. It seems like putting him in a phone booth and kind of taking away some of that extra thought process and that space with left tackle has allowed him to be able to be better with his striking and his hand placement. So for me, he did have some good reps at left tackle in this past game, but I am a little bummed because I was starting to see some good things from Awesome Richards, specifically at left guard. And I think he's capable of being this team's swing guard.
Bonnie Jill?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of piggyback again off of Christy talking about Cooper Beebe, because I was so impressed with him. I don't know, Aisha, I give him an A+. I thought he looked fantastic. His snaps were pretty consistent. His protection was solid. And I know it's still Brock Hoffman's position to lose, but I really just thought he did such a great job. And again, talking about just battling for that center position, he's really making a good case where he was drafted and why he potentially will be the starting center at some point.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy also saying that Cooper Beebe, as of today, would be getting a lot more opportunities with the ones, so that'll be really interesting. Got a chance to see Tyler Guyton. We've seen it a little bit in practice before, but get to see potentially Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe starting on the offensive line. Hey, I'm just speaking this into existence, just letting y'all know that. But yeah, no, I mean, when you talk about Cooper Beebe, I'll start with Aisha this time. Do you think that one of the biggest concerns coming into camp was his snapping, right? Do you think that that's kind of improved? Did you see a little bit more improvement in that game against the Rams?
Oh, absolutely. I was listening to him. I mean, if I'm being quite frankly, I felt like every day in camp, he's gotten better at it. If you watch him, you see him just becoming more confident in it. And today in interviews, I saw that he mentioned, I just had to stop thinking about it. I just had to do it, and it became comfortable. It's, the biggest thing he's been working on is the fact that instead of just popping right out of his stance at guard. He's having to snap and then also to find his anchor and to set his feet, right? So there were a couple times in the game you saw him just get driven back a little bit. But when he has that balance, dude, y'all, his base is so crazy. Like, and when you look at his stance when he is blocking, it's just so strong. I can imagine his core strength is through the roof. But he just plays with so much leverage. And what stood out the most to me, Nicole, we've talked about it on this show plenty of times, because you was fussing about it last year, them not getting to the second level. This offensive line's inability to get to the second level really stifled this run game last year. And this is a guy at center that can do that, that can wipe linebackers out the way for your running backs to find, creases. So I was very impressed, and I'm excited to see more of him and just continue to see him develop. I'm really hoping they figure out who it's going to be soon so we can have some continuity, because this is bouncing around about to start stressing me out. Bonnie, what you got?
Christy, what you got?
Well, I think that we take the.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say we take for granted the fact that the snap should be easy, and you work on it for a little bit at camp and it's done. But that's actually not the case. I think a lot of fans would be surprised to know that throughout the regular season and even into the playoffs, the structure of the Cowboys practice is such that the beginning you have the stretching, and then you have special teams, and then you have some position group work. While all that is going on, if you were to watch a Cowboys practice, you wouldn't see the centers or you wouldn't see the quarterbacks out on the field, because they don't come out for another 15 to 20 minutes or so, because they're inside the Ford Center working on the center quarterback exchange and working on the cadence. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned the quarterback exchange, because it's so fundamental. We take it for granted, and it's important to note that it's something that is worked on every single day. And so to expect Cooper Beebe, who played guard and tackle in college, to pick it up like that is not reasonable. And it's something that, he's done very well so far, but it's just something that has to be stressed every single practice.
I think that word grace we've used a lot with a lot of guys on this team. We've used it with Terrence Steele. We've used it with Mozzie Smith. I think it's time to use it also with Cooper Beebe. And, hey, he's honestly on the right track to pick it up a lot sooner. But, Bonnie Jill, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. What you got?
Oh, no, I just was shifting gears a little with Brock Hoffman, because the notes that I had during the game was that I thought he looked pretty fluid in his ability to snap the ball. And he had that explode in his stance. Aisha, I think maybe you would agree with that. And he seemed like he executed all the blocks. So I was it's like you said, I'd love to see some consistency so we know what is going to happen at that center position. But I think we're in a pretty good position that we have two great guys that are developing, quite well. And Brock Hoffman, his confidence, as I spoke about before, is really, you could see that connection he has with Dak. And I think just the offseason work he did was so important, and you can really see that in the game.
Yeah, the thing about Hoffman that stood out to me, Nicole, before I know we go to another topic, was it's the thing about him that I noticed in the game is just it sometimes feels like he's struggling to let his weight sit in his feet and for him to find his anchor. And there were just plenty of times where he's trying to get his footing under him, but he can't sit down as centers do and offensive linemen do. So I'm looking for him to just do a better job also too of, we just talked about it, getting to the second level. That's probably the thing that stood out the most to me, Billy Joe, was the fact that Cooper Beebe, you could see some of the explosiveness up the field and stuff. And then with Brock Hoffman, that seemed like a little bit more of a struggle with him, finding the defender and making contact and driving them out of the play. So just things to look forward to and just keep looking for it. And they have another practice this week, right, Nicole?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And in the practice with the joint practice tomorrow, I'm interested to see if Brock Hoffman gets some work at guard, because if Cooper Beebe is going to get more with the first team, Brock Hoffman, he's been working almost exclusively at center, been working first team center, and of course he whether it's Beebe or Hoffman, whoever wins the job, the other guy is going to be a backup center and guard. Brock Hoffman started 2 games last year, one at center and one at guard. So, and it seems like he did a lot of practice at both positions last year. So don't be surprised if you see Hoffman get some reps at guard. I'm curious to see where they work him in this domino effect that we talk about following the Edoga injury.
Do y'all feel like,
sorry.
since you all have been, here for a lot longer than myself, but compared to last training camp, do y'all feel like the offensive line is kind of experiencing those same issues of just the lack of continuity, still trying to find its identity a little bit that they kind of faced last year? How would you compare the the status?
I mean, you
think
got
I
a
lost
rookie
y'all
at
on
left
my ear,
tackle.
by the way, just letting y'all know.
Oh, yeah, you got a rookie at left tackle.
I'll start with you, Christy.
Oh, Barnacles. Can you?
No, it's just when you have a 17-game season, it's not reasonable to expect that the guys are going to get through the season. So this is good. This is the time. If you're going to have to move guys around and have them get some reps, this is the time to do it. And then use these preseason games to give them work at different spots. And so if it happens in the season, that you don't have to. So let's just say that just like I would say Trey Lance is a work in progress, and I know we're going to talk more about him, but the same thing would be with the offensive line. But what we're going to do is go ahead and throw it to our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about specific things that we saw from Trey Lance and the rest of the offense in the preseason loss to the Rams. We'll do that right after this.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
This second segment is brought to you by blockchain.com. August 13th and 14th practices. Watch your Dallas Cowboys practice as part of training camp presented by American Airlines today and tomorrow in Oxnard, obviously in California. Don't miss a scrimmage with the Los Angeles Rams on Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Admission is free, of course. Visit DallasCowboys.com/training camp for all the upcoming practice dates. And Pro Shops gear up for the 2024 NFL season with official Dallas Cowboys gear. We love all the gear there. Head to the Pro Shop near you. Log on to shop.dallascowboys.com. A Fanatics experience and score jerseys, tees, headwear, and more.
Head to the Pro Shop to shop.
To shop.
You know who's shopping for more opportunities.
There it goes.
That's Trey Lance.
Yes. So
That was a
I
bar.
actually
That
covered.
was low-key a bar.
Yeah, I covered Trey Lance at the 49ers, and Aisha, he's always just been the guy who's just inexperienced, and not because it's his fault, but because if you remember for college, like he redshirted, and then he had 1 year, and then he had COVID, the COVID season. So he has not had a lot of time. I mean, 8 games, 4 starts in the NFL. This was his first time taking the field in 357 days. That's basically a year, and 420 passes before 2023, and that is not a lot. And so he always seems to be impressive with his legs, and he's got a great arm, but he is not efficient. He's not accurate, and that is one of the big problems. And yes, he can beat you with his legs, but sometimes he gets locked in on a receiver, and after the first read, second read, third read, he doesn't understand. By that time, you got to use your legs or do something. And so he's always the guy that seems to struggle with throwing into trouble. I could go on for a long time about things that, that I just think he didn't make any big mistakes, Aisha, but yet he didn't really impress me. I don't know. I think it's more reps. I know he was, I was told by a lot of the players that he was efficient in the huddle, but he's got the happy feet that you could see that he's got a long ways to go, and I just don't see. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope at some point he can end up being a starter in this league. I don't know with the Dallas Cowboys, but I just think it's gonna take a while for him to develop. He's just kind of way behind for being 24 years old.
Yeah. Nicole. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I didn't know. She said Aisha. I didn't know if you want to piggyback.
No,
off of
I
that or
just
not.
didn't want to mess it up.
Sorry.
But no, it's fine. But no,
ahead.
when you turn on the tape and you watch him play, you do see a guy that needs more reps, needs more time, and unfortunately, I don't know if that's possible because this is the time he's gonna get. If I'm not mistaken, this is the most he's thrown in a football game since high school. So a lot of the stuff that he struggled with in this game, where his reads, not throwing outside the numbers, that's always an indicator that this is a young guy and he's still learning things. The touch that he puts on the ball, so how to place it. Okay, well, do I need to float it here? I'm not trying to throw darts when he's literally just in the flats and trying to kill my receiver. Just different things, and seeing the field, throwing with anticipation. All of this stuff comes with some seasoning, right? All of this stuff comes with some experience and time. And then you do see the flashes of what you feel like he can be. And I don't think that everything he did was inefficient. I thought they did some good things in play action, did a few run action things as well. It's just the mechanics and some of those things are stuff that he's not going to get better unless he continues to work it. And we just don't know how much 3 preseason games is going to do, because we already know once the season starts, 4 are going to be out there. So it's a tough thing to talk about, and I think we have to be careful in how we talk about it and consider it, because this is someone's career, and he also is trying to. This is a pivotal moment in his career. This is not just he's out there and he's just trying to make the roster. It's no, this guy is also trying to prove to himself that he can play football at this level. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm delicate with how I'm handling it. But to Bonnie Jill's point, yeah, this is a player that doesn't have a lot of experience, and you see it on the field quite often.
And actually getting a chance to hear from Trey Lance after the game, he understands that he left some plays out on the field. That's something that he said. But it kind of brings me to my next question, though, and I'll start with you, Christy. When you balance have to balance the fact that the Cowboys are in a position where they have to win, right? Especially this year. Everybody's on one-year deals. And you have, of course, Cooper Rush, who is on the right track of being the backup quarterback yet again behind Dak Prescott. But Trey Lance, there was so much hope for him to have already been up to speed, right? Having been under the system, having learned from Brian Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott as well. And again, it wasn't, I guess you can say, the best performance, but it wasn't all ugly either. But seeing what he put on display on Sunday, do you feel like there still has to be a little bit of grace, or do the Cowboys not have time to even really, wait for his development?
Well, fans and media don't have to have grace, and rarely do.
Facts.
So that's the thing when the expectations are high, and and even from the sideline, I was underwhelmed. So yes, there were too many plays left out on the field. Trey acknowledges it. The coaches acknowledge it. Some missed open throws. What did we say last Friday? I think I said the one thing I don't want to see is Trey Lance leading the team in rushing. Because it means that plays are breaking down. He's having to go. Some of that was dependent on pass protection, but should he be allowed grace? Should he have it? Absolutely. But when you're $5.3 million against the cap, when you're in your fourth year in the league, when if you're going to have three quarterbacks active on game day, and not have it count against inactives, the other inactive players on the roster, that means you have to have 3 on the 53-man roster. You can't promote him from the practice squad up and down like that. He's going to have to be on the 53-man roster, which means you're going to have to go short at another position. So there is so much that is involved in this, and sometimes you just start to run out of time. But of all the players that I want to have a really, I won't say breakthrough, but show so much improvement from preseason 1 to preseason game 2. I hope it's Trey Lance, just to get some of the doubters off of his back, if nothing else.
Agreed.
And get his
Bonnie Jo,
confidence.
Aisha?
Oh, I
What
agree.
are your thoughts?
I agree. I think it's
Yeah.
I don't think that many people watch football and just want someone to fail.
No, of course.
Unless you're like Tom Brady in the early 2000s or something. Yeah. But no, I don't think that many people watch football and want someone to fail, and that's why I said, like, I'm trying to even be careful in my evaluations, because I feel like a lot of people are a little upset about the 4th round pick, and then where the Cowboys stand on the running back position. I know we gonna talk about that. So it's like,
that's coming up next.
I felt it in my bones. But I think a lot of the frustration also, too, to Christy's point, you mentioned the cap hit, which, they like talking about. And then also to the loss of the 4th round pick, which that's when a lot of the top running backs in this past draft went. There was a huge run on them. And, as we sit here with the Cowboys, we're all really unsure of how this is even going to work right now. So I get the frustration, but just be a little easy on the kid, man.
I know I was a little harsh, Aisha.
No. You
I think
have
I was harsh
experience.
because I've seen him with the Niners too, so I think I just am seeing the same Trey, And I want him to do well. And he had 2 promising drives. Of course, they're kind of wiped away with those 2 drops. So I did see a little something. I just feel like that lack of experience. He's just behind the 8 ball right now, and that's what's tough for him. But I do want him to succeed. I'm not seeing it.
No, I get you. I mean, baby, fool me 1 time, fool me 2 times. Yeah. What J. Cole say?
Ooh.
Well,
I don't know. I can't say it right now.
Oh, well.
Hey, but here's the thing. I think one of the most disappointing things is not being able to get in the end zone the whole game when you had 4 extra cracks at it.
Exactly.
The defense provided you with 4 takeaways.
Yeah,
So
didn't
4
capitalize
extra
on it.
series that you may not have otherwise had. And yes, Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff, Stephen Jones, they'll say, hey, they had some long sustained drives and things like that. But you were 2 out of 5 on 4th down. And this is not all on Trey. I'm just saying overall, all that extra time and you still couldn't get the ball in the end zone. What's the one thing that the quarterback has to do? Move the ball and get your team in the end zone. And they moved the ball, but they didn't get it in the end zone. And unfortunately, that's how you're ultimately judged.
Yeah, that was something that I actually kind of tweeted about yesterday. Just the fact that he's not going through all his progressions. Again, that comes with time, but hopefully we see something better from Trey Lance on Saturday against the Raiders.
Yeah, and that's also the importance of the offensive line when you're losing your guys, and they wanted Trey Lance to focus on the drop back, okay? So they didn't want him running. They were designing, you don't like strategize. You're not game planning against the Rams defense. They're not going to game plan against the Raiders defense on Saturday night, but you still want to run your own plays, run your own offense. And when there are some changes in the line and you're getting all that pressure and they're not having that time in the pocket, it's not an excuse for Trey Lance. There were times where he did have time and still missed some guys. But again, it's a whole domino effect, and that's why football is the ultimate team game. Something at one position affects all the other 10 guys.
Chris, so I think Monty Jo had mentioned this, the fact that, or maybe it was Aisha, that, Trey Lance led the team in rushing. Of course, that's something you do not want to see. No, that was Christy. Sorry,
Christy
you said that
it,
you do not want to see that. Christy said it. But moving on to these running backs, guys, let's start with Rico Dowdle, right? Well, no. Let's start with Ezekiel Elliott and the fact that he didn't even suit up. You obviously got a chance to see Rico Dowdle. He's just continuing what he did in 2023 in only 3 carries, right? And averaged 4.7 yards per carry. That was the most on the team. And again, let me just reiterate that, in 3 carries. But can I first just ask you all this? Because the Cowboys brought in Ezekiel Elliott, right, as another veteran presence in that running back room, but he's a guy that still had to take some learning, right, because he hasn't been in this new system with Mike McCarthy calling the plays, and that's something that even McCarthy's talked about. Do you feel like that was the right decision to have him not suit up in that game on Sunday? Christy, I'll start with you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He doesn't need to play, and even though the protections are different from his time as recently as 2 years ago with the Cowboys, of course he was with the Patriots last year, he has probably the highest football IQ of a Cowboy in the last 20 years, and so it's not a problem for him to pick that up. I don't need to see Ezekiel Elliott in the preseason. I know exactly what I have in him.
I agree, Christy.
Aisha.
Exactly. I mean, there's a shell of
Bonnie Jo, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's still somewhat of a shell of the old Zeke, but I still feel like we don't need to see. We know what we get from Zeke, and we know that his value will be in the red zone, and I think we kind of can go from there.
Yeah.
Aisha, you didn't really. That
She
didn't
wants
sound
to say
convincing
more.
for me.
I mean, listen, I'm just going to leave it at this. Like, I do think that the schematic part of things, like Ezekiel, he's fine, he's smart, he's intelligent. I'm sure he's going to be fine in pass pro and efficient in the run game. However, I do, to a Rico Dowdle, who, is, to me, looks like the best running back on this team right now. It doesn't really take rocket science to tell that this should be your number 1 back right now. And what message, respectfully, veteran included and all that stuff, what message are you sending to him having him starting the first snaps of a preseason game? And furthermore, if he is your number 1 running back and you not evaluating other people or whatever the case may be, this is a gentleman that's had injury history. Why risk him? What was the, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yes,
Christy said,
I was surprised. I would not be surprised if he didn't play these last 2 preseason games. I was mildly surprised that, in fact, he did play in the opener at the Rams on Saturday. And I'm with you, Aisha, on that.
And Christy, I think that might have something to do with the fact that Royce Freeman got dinged up last week. Maybe they expected to see him a little bit more, so this was maybe just like, we got to, like the Guyton thing, right? Like, okay, we got to put him out there. But what I'm saying is, it's like Rico Dowdle was on this team last year. I didn't feel like he really got the opportunity to show what he could do. The splits were crazy sometimes. But then also, too, like, he's been around this team, and this is his opportunity to take a step forward, not only for, this team, but for his career, to put some more tape on the field so he can move forward if he wants to do that. And I just feel like some of the messaging could be misconstrued with letting a Rico go out there and play snaps. But Ezekiel Elliott, who wasn't even here last year, veteran in Dallas as he may be, is not playing at all. And so, I again, that's just perception. But other than that, it is what it is.
Yeah. What did you think of Malik Davis?
That's what I was just gonna ask, yeah.
And let's start with you, Nicole, because I would just say that it was a golden opportunity for him on Saturday
Missed
night. And
opportunities.
sometimes the holes weren't always there, but I was really hoping for Malik's sake that he'd have more of a chance, because he averaged 2.5 yards a carry. And if you take away Trey Lance's numbers in the running game, it was a bad running day for the Cowboys Saturday night.
Yeah, all 5 of them combined for 23 carries as a whole running back room. But when you talk about Malik Davis, I was actually very impressed with the days that he kind of stacked here in training camp. He was showing that burst, that explosiveness. His vision was good, but I didn't see that what he's done in practice translate to the game. And there were so many opportunities. Actually, I think that was me and Patrick Walker who were kind of joking about it, the fact that we think that Malik Davis may have said like, hey Trey, give me some opportunities today. You know what I'm saying? But no, I mean I won't use the word underwhelmed, but unimpressed with what Malik Davis did. He was just constantly running into traffic, even in opportunities and, catching passes in space. I mean, you have drops. And granted, Aisha did point this out. It was a couple of bad throws, but the other opportunities, you had chances to catch that ball, and you've got to make something happen. And I just don't think that he put on the performance that he should have, especially in a game like that. When you have this running back room, there's so many opportunities, and, you're in a battle right now. You got to go out there and perform. And Snoop Connor, I think, should have got more opportunities when you saw that Malik Davis wasn't performing. I did not like that. But again, still preseason. They're still trying to figure some things out. Aisha, what you think?
Yeah, you mentioned some of Malik Davis's vision, because I think when he went out there, they still had not Edoga. I think Guyton was at tackle by the time he got out there for a little bit.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Hoffman at center. You had TJ Bass at right guard, and then you had Waletzko at right tackle, and then you also had Schoonmaker and Lipke out there. And those guys, and I was going to bring this up, Christy, because you were mentioning the fact that they wanted to see Trey Lance do some things in the pocket passing the ball. I wonder if that affected at all their decision to go away from the run. Because the start of this game, this offensive line was getting some movement. Am I tripping, or am I seeing things?
No, I agree with you. If Malik had been running in that first series instead of Rico, maybe it would have been Malik with the positive, with the good yardage like Rico had. So, when you're running behind third-team offensive linemen, it makes it tougher. I think it's going to be interesting to see in tomorrow's joint practice with the Rams, and then Saturday night at Las Vegas in preseason game 2, if Snoop Connor gets more work than Malik, if they want to see a longer look at him. But I'm glad that we're mentioning Royce Freeman's name, because his injury these past 2 weeks and him not being part of it, he's a free agent signing for the Cowboys this year. Veteran guy, good veteran free agent addition, a lot of experience, can do lots of different things, thicker body so he can run with some power, but also catch the ball. And so it's the domino effect in the running back room.
Yeah.
But again, a veteran guy, you know what you have. It just means it's kind of like CeeDee Lamb not being here. It means that the younger guys behind him are getting more reps, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. But let's look and see if they give Snoop Connor a longer look this week.
Bonnie Jill?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of reiterate what Aisha's saying. I just wish they would, work more on the running game. That's what I saw, that they had opportunities to have some gains, but they decided to have Trey Lance throw the ball 40 times. So it seemed like they abandoned the run a lot. And I was going to ask Aisha if, might have helped if he had some commitment from knowing what they're doing with the run game, right?
Oh, no, like Christy, when you were talking about it earlier, it made me realize, dang, he did throw the ball a whole bunch. And I think that's, if he were to parallel that with some more of the run game, it might have helped him get more of a rhythm. It might have helped him set up more play action situations and stuff like that. So whereas if this team is trying to see if he can pass the ball efficiently, I don't think that you should just completely outs the run game as a response to that, because, baby, your quarterback is running the ball more than these running backs, and you need to evaluate every single one of them. So what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good point. Well, ladies, we have given our little gold stars to Rico Dowdle. We've got to give a gold star to this Cowboys defense.
Yes.
Mike Zimmer cooking without a play call sheet. We're gonna break that down in the next segment. You're watching Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
This second segment is brought to you by blockchain.com. Watch your Dallas Cowboys practice as part of training camp presented by our friends at American Airlines today and tomorrow in Oxnard. August 13th and 14th practices. Don't miss a scrimmage with the Los Angeles Rams on Wednesday from 11 a.m., 1 p.m. That's PST. Admission is free. Visit DallasCowboys.com/training camp for all upcoming practice dates. Nicole, I'm going to toss it to you.
All right, ladies, before we wrap things up here on the show, we've got to shine a light on this defense. Man, 4 interceptions. Unfortunately, still not coming away with the game, but still a lot of good things to point out. Christy, we'll start with you and the fact that, 4 interceptions. It's got to be impressive, just picking up where they left off last year.
Absolutely. I think the thing that most heartened me about the defense was that the reaction of the players in the locker room after the game saying, we know it's going to work, when asked about Zimmer's system. So when you have success like those 4 takeaways, it just kind of reinforces things. And so that's what made me really happy. Marquise Bell said that, and he just had a terrific game. He was our defensive star of the game for Cowboys Radio. But the rest of the defense, I think, is emblematic of preseason football. So Eric Scott, second-year cornerback, not a great first half, and missed a tackle, a lot of yards after catch allowed. There was one where he had to hit out of bounds, and yet in the fourth quarter comes back and gets an interception. Later in the fourth quarter, you have the linebacker Jason Johnson, who gets a sack, but then also commits a key penalty to help sustain that late drive, the game-winning touchdown drive for the Rams. So just like every preseason, there's good and bad, but I'd say mostly good for the Cowboys defense, especially with those takeaways. What were your thoughts, Aisha?
Well, let me first say, baby, it's preseason because there was a lot of huffing and puffing and hands on on your waist and stuff. Listen, especially from the big boys in the middle. Listen, but I mean, and that's to be expected. These guys are going to take some time to to transition into being
Condition.
transition into being in game shape and football shape, because it is a different type of shape. So this is the first time that some of these guys are getting live reps, but this is also the first time that some of these guys are getting these extended snaps, because we talked about it. There's not depth in certain positions, or you have injuries and stuff like that. But I thought this defensive interior, I thought we saw some good things from Mozzie, staying square, especially on that first drive, staying square, showing a lot of effort, trying to make tackles on the outside. Kalen Carson, it felt like at the beginning of that game, they was trying to pick on my guy a little bit. It felt like they were really trying to go at him, but he's still, even he's always in position. Even if someone is making a catch on him, he's always in position, or he has the speed to close and tackle really quickly, which is something you're always going to value in this NFL, that you having corners that can open field tackle, but also too, he has a quick memory. Really, and that's something that stood out to me in this game about him. Really looking at this defensive line, I ain't gonna hold you. Marshawn Nealon, the initial drive of that game, you just saw a player that is ready to defend the run at a high level. And his power, the strength in his hands, how he flows to the ball, it was impressive. Like I said, and Christy, you mentioned, I'm not going to take everybody, but you mentioned Marquise Bell. I was curious of how Marquise Bell was going to fit into this system, because, Dan Quinn ran a lot of big nickel, so that just means like there's more safeties on the field, sometimes 2-3 safeties on the field, or dime rather. And so I was thinking that maybe I didn't know how he was going to fit and what he was going to be doing in this defense. But kind of getting a look at what he was able to do in this game, you're going to have to find a way to get him snaps on the field. And with Zimmer, we know that this safety, the way he uses safeties, is very vast and creative. I'm hoping that Zimmer sees this guy right here that had all those run stops, that cleaned up a lot in the run game for a lack of gap integrity, y'all. It was refreshing to see Marquise Bell, because, ladies, you guys are there. I haven't really heard much of him this whole camp. You guys, have you heard his name called a lot this camp?
He's been kind of quiet. I think he's been kind of quiet to me.
I think it's been an excellent camp, and it's not having like the interceptions in the practices, so he's not getting the attention from the media the way he did in that game.
There we go.
But here's the thing about Marquise Bell, and Mike McCarthy mentioned this in the walk-off. I think it was today. He was saying that Marquise Bell playing out of position at linebacker last year, it made him look at the game in a different way. When you're at a different position, you're having to kind of focus on different things and see things in a different way. And so it's really helping him, now that he's back at safety, understand more of the overall defense, know more of what to expect from the offense, but have a better understanding of the run fits. And that's very important for a safety who coming up on support in the run game. So I think that kind of experience and what we've seen on the practice field, even though it's been under the radar with media and fans, I think it did manifest itself on Saturday night against the Rams. So let's see if he can keep it rolling through preseason.
And I think another guy who's kind of a little bit been under the radar is Eric Scott, just because of the fact that he hadn't really had all the media attention, right, throughout training camp. But I think that interception certainly is something that he needed, because you talk about that nickel position, the depth behind Jordan Lewis, right? He's got Josh Butler, Josh DeBerry, Andrew Booth, and Keemon Hall to compete with. So I think that was something that he needed to do in order to put his name in that conversation, So it was good to see Eric Scott go out there and get that interception, especially after he was kind of picked on as well, kind of like Kalen Carson. Aisha, what do you think about Eric Scott?
They was trying to pick on him. In regard to Eric Scott, it's just seeing where he fits. This is a new coach regime. This is a new, system and things like that. So I'm sure he's just getting the hang of things. Like you said, Nicole, it was nice to see him kind of redeem himself and come back and have that interception. But I'm still a bit unsure of what's going on there. So we'll just keep an eye on it. What you got, Bonnie?
Someone else that kind of under the
Bonnie
radar, I'm curious what y'all think, is Justin Rogers. I think he was a rookie that stood out. He's listed at 6'2", 338 pounds, which I believe he's being outsmithed by 1 pound. But I think he's a true nose tackle. And I see a lot what he can do tough against the run. And so I was pretty impressed by that rookie, and I think that he's going to show flashes of what he can do on this line. And as a rookie, I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Took on some double teams, did some things, getting off of blocks and shedding. He just has one of the more natural feels for it. I mean, sometimes, the power isn't always there, but he does have a natural feel for just how to play the run. I will say, Bonnie, I was surprised by the fact that he did some pass rushy things.
Yeah.
Did you see that, Christy, with some of the stuff with him getting upfield
Yes.
and showing a little pop off the line of scrimmage? I was like, okay, Justin, I didn't know you had all that going on.
I liked how he looked.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention DeMarvion Overshown and his return to the field and just how special this player is going to be. I've been saying it all off season. Some guys you just have a feeling about. You meet them, they have an aura, they have a spirit, and just so happy to see him back on the field and doing what he does. Christy, you mentioned some of the scheme. Zimmer brought some A-gap blitzes. He brought some C-gap blitzes. He did some creative things, but just really looking forward to DeMarvion Overshown, ladies. Y'all got something you want to say about him?
Instead of swatting flies, did you hear what he was saying? That during his rehabbing, he was swatting flies.
He said he used to practice for his reaction time.
Yeah.
Crazy. He's nuts.
He's a great quote, that's for sure.
A great quote.
Another one, huh? Another linebacker with a great
things.
quote.
Exactly. So he had 11 snaps against the Rams, and hopefully maybe a little bit more on Saturday night, but 3 tackles in those 11 snaps. I think last year, before he suffered the injury in preseason, he had 46 snaps and 9 tackles. So, and what's really great is it's fun to watch him in preseason. Hopefully he'll continue what he did Saturday, but all that creativity with Zimmer and stuff and using him, you ain't seen nothing yet. They're not going to show anything in preseason. So this is just kind of like a movie preview where you get just a little bit, and then once we get into the regular season, then I think Zimmer's going to be really creative with them.
I'm bought in.
I like that, actually.
I'm bought
ain't
in.
seen nothing yet.
I'm bought
Hopefully
in
we
just
see
like the
more
guys.
on Saturday.
Nicole?
Bought in?
Yes.
All right, I'm bought in, I guess.
I'm bought in
Bonnie
just like
Jill,
the
you bought
guys.
in?
I'm bought in too.
Christy, you bought in?
Totally bought in.
All
We're
right.
all bought in.
All right. Well, hopefully we get a chance to see that. We'll start tomorrow, of course, with joint practice again with the Rams, and then another practice on Thursday. Then the team heads out to Las Vegas Friday, and we finally get another preseason game on Saturday. We'll have all your coverage here. Watch Training Camp Live tomorrow. We'll be having all that coverage as well. But that'll do it for today's episode of Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see y'all on Thursday.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!